Welcome to the Buried Treasures podcast, brought to you by Masjid Uthman, where I interview a new guest every week to discover their journey. I'm Hamza Warsi. Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salamu ala Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Jazakumullahu khairan, everyone, for joining us. MashaAllah. We have none other than the biggest and the best of all Vikings fans you'll ever come across in your life. I only know of one other individual who's a Vikings fan. It's my cousin Moby, but none other than Mawlāna Asif. Assalamu alaikum. How's everything, man?
Good, alhamdulillah.
Why are you a Vikings fan? Like, of all teams, out of nowhere.
MashaAllah.
Pick someone out of the division, man.
That was a long story. It's a long story.
Explain it. Go ahead.
It's a long story. Yeah. So when we were growing up, we all, as 5 brothers, we decided to have a team. Mm-hmm. Everybody choose a team. And Atif, I remember he chose 2 teams. He chose the Eagles and the Vikings. So I was thinking, why does he have 2 teams? I'm just going to take one of his teams. I like their logo. I don't know what a Viking was that time, but I like their logo, and it all started from that, honestly.
Mashallah, that's awesome, man. Yeah, so I just kind of want to dive into it. I know I had 2 of your other brothers on as well, mashallah. Just a little bit of background, your early life. I don't know why you became a Vikings fan, but sure. I guess the logo seemed cool when you were younger. But yeah, just where you're born and raised and what you're doing in your early days.
Nothing too fancy, nothing too particular. Alhamdulillah, I grew up, born and raised in Chicago. I'm the youngest of 5 brothers, as you know. So obviously it was always seeing them and looking at them and looking up to them and seeing what they did in their life, and that using that as a motivation for myself. Whether it's in sports, whether it's in school, whether it's in madrasa, whether it's in alim course, still called the whole 9 yards, mashallah. They were obviously a source of motivation for a lot of things that I did.
Nice, mashallah. So, when did you go to Hibs exactly?
Started Hibs 2002. Mm-hmm. 2002 is when I started Hibs. And it was right after 5th grade. Right after 5th grade. I was trying to get there earlier, but I said that I think they were taking students from like 7th grade or 6th grade. Yeah, it's the 7th or 8th grade. But my father, my parents, had quite a good connection with madrasa from beforehand, because my other brothers went there before as well. So they took me in after 5th grade, alhamdulillah.
Okay, nice, mashallah. So that's what you started, because I know your brother Asfar went around 5th grade as well, but it didn't work out for him. He went back a little bit later.
Yeah.
So for you were there from 5th grade onwards?
Oh, yeah, so 6th grade and onwards, yep.
6th grade onwards, mashallah. So what was your driving factor or motivation to do Hibs?
I would say, the environment that my parents, the environment that my parents put us around, that was a huge motivating factor. Obviously, I used to go every week with my mom when she would go drop off my brothers to madrasa so they can stay during the week. So I would see them and I would see how happy they were, and I would see how much they loved to memorize Qur'ān, and I would see how much camaraderie they had with the other students, playing basketball, playing football. It was a beautiful experience that I saw. And I was thinking, what else could be better than this? In an elementary school's mind, that's what I was thinking. This is something that I would love to do. And as I got older, alhamdulillah, the opportunity opened up. If I can, I don't know if you want to go forward or not, but I was going
wherever you want.
Okay. So when I would go visit, Mawlāna Aziz, he was teaching obviously Hibs during that time, and every time I would come, he'd always be so jolly. He's still so jolly, mashallah. That's one of the beautiful characteristics, that if you sit and you interact with the youth, mashallah, you act like the youth as well. So he has that in him, mashallah. And whenever I would go, he would always be very welcoming, very, always say salam, very, he'd always ask me, when are you coming, right? So I would always go home and tell my parents, mashallah, he's always asking, when am I coming, I want to go. So those, small things like that, adults don't realize make a huge impact on kids' lives. When you see them and you see, somebody who's 50, 60 years old, coming and saying salam to a 10-year-old and taking the time out and just being with them during that time. Yeah. So he was obviously a huge motivating factor as well.
So then when you went into going in as a 6th grader, were you living on campus or were you going back and forth to your house?
Did I want to live on campus? I wanted to. There's a lot more opportunities, I would say. I wouldn't say good opportunities, but there are a lot more opportunities for kids to do kids things. But my parents, they tried it out with my other kids. Not with my kids. They tried it out with my other brothers. They tried it out with my other brothers during that time, and they saw it was obviously there was a little bit of a struggle there, living on campus. So they decided for me and my brother Mawlana Kamal that we were gonna commute every single day. So it was a half-an-hour drive. Mashallah, they would take us in the morning, pick us up at night. My father, he would come, help out with the madrasa in terms of building the school, building the masjid, in terms of donations, in terms of serving the kids food. He just loved being there as well. Obviously his kids were there, so that was a double benefit for him, just being in that madrasa environment as well, because he didn't get that growing up. So that was something that he looked forward to as well, just going to IE on a daily basis. Nice. Interacting with the ulama there, interacting with the Hibs teachers, and serving the kids food. I was surprised he liked doing that, right? he liked doing it, mashallah.
Mashallah. That's amazing, man. That's amazing to hear about your father as well. I did want to ask, so you ended up going to Hibs before your brother Mawlana Kamil, correct?
He actually started before I did.
Okay.
And then it didn't work out for him that time. He was quite young. I think he was maybe 3rd or 4th grade. He was quite young, and it didn't work out for him that time. So he went back to school, and then I started after 6th grade, and he saw that I was going to school, and I joke with him. I tell him, I was your motivating factor for going. I tell him, but mashallah, he came in about after a year. But I think I was there for about half a year, and then he came from high school. He left high school and he came full time with myself. Yeah.
Nice, mashallah. So you were well ahead of him.
Yeah, I was a little bit ahead of him. Yeah, so I started about a year ahead of him. Yeah.
So can you describe to us what the environment was at your school? You mentioned that you went to IAE in Elgin, correct?
Yeah.
So how was the environment in terms of studies or just memorization? You mentioned you guys had lunch and things like that. What kept you kind of driving towards that finish line?
Honestly, madrasa environment, you wouldn't replace. If anybody that goes to madrasa and they look back at it 5-10 years down the line, they wouldn't replace that time for anything in their entire life. The moments that you spend there, I remember one time vividly. We were just sitting memorizing Qur'ān, and I looked on my right hand side, and there was a brother who was probably in his 20s while I was 12. He was in his 20s or 30s from Somalia. And I looked ahead of me, there was a brother that was in his 40s, he was from Bulgaria. And I looked on my left hand side, there's your regular, Desi kids who just, are there from, 10-year-olds, 12 years old. So you see, multiple individuals from multiple cultures, multiple ages, all doing the same thing, which is just memorizing the Qur'an. And it's just a boom. If you hear, we were all in that big, it was in the older building. All the classes, we had 1, 2, 3, we had 4 classes going on, and all in one big hall, and that hall was just booming with Qur'an. And when I look back at that moment, honestly, we wouldn't replace that for anything in your entire life. When you have iman and the blessings of the Qur'an, no money, no job, nothing can really replace that. Honestly, wallahi, I wouldn't replace that for anything. That experience, and I'm sure you yourself experienced madrasa life, and being around Qur'an and just memorizing Qur'an. Yeah, sure, there's going to be joking time, in between classes when the teacher goes to the restroom, when the teacher goes to that. Yeah, sure, there's joking time, but everybody has that same goal of trying to memorize the Quran, the Book of Allah Subhanahu wa Taala, and you really can't go wrong with that.
Oh, that's amazing. I mean, so during your studies and during your memorization, a lot of times there's people who come across like roadblocks. Was there any a time to where you reached a roadblock, and how'd you get over it?
My mom, she knew, she kind of had experience with the other children of how to motivate and how to push and how to make them memorize faster.
Mm-hmm.
So she had that experience, and I was the last child. So what she did was, it really helped me in terms of not, even if I did come across roadblocks, it wasn't that difficult. What do I mean by that? One of the hardest things that happens for an individual memorizing Quran is trying to memorize those few lines on the spot.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's 3, 4 lines, 1 ayah, 2 ayahs. They're done reciting their āmuqta, they're done reciting their bar sabak, their pan sabak, whatever they're done reciting that, and then they're like, okay, finally I can do sabak, but then they never read it before, and they're just starting from afresh, and then it gets difficult because you use all your energy to recite everything else, and now you have those few lines that you're going to memorize and recite for the day, but it's very difficult. So one thing that my mom used to always do with me was Saturday, Sunday, wake me up. It was like 8 a.m., 9 a.m., wake me up in the morning. All the other brothers are sleeping.
Mm-hmm.
Give me some food. Let me play some Dreamcast first, Let me play some Dreamcast, give me some food. And then we would sit at it for a few hours, me and her just sit at it for a few hours and just memorizing. Whether it was, it wasn't memorizing to the point where I was making 0 mistakes. No, I was making obviously many mistakes, but it was still reading it abundantly. And to the point where I would say it was half-baked. It was half-baked. It was, 60, 70% baked. And she would basically motivate me to memorize the whole week's sabak, the whole Monday through Friday on Saturday and Sunday. So we would memorize the whole weeks on Saturday and Sunday. And when it came time on Monday night, Tuesday night, whatever the weeknights, come time to recite sabak, and I recited everything else, it would, it wouldn't take that long to just memorize and recite it.
Mashallah.
That was, so if she didn't do that, I would say that would be a big roadblock. A big roadblock, because I would be completely drained, doing āmuqta and doing all the other par sabak, pan sabak, and then playing for 3 hours, outside, completely, and then you come back and memorize, sabak. It would be very difficult. So that just really helped me. Yeah, that helped me. I can't really, you can't really thank your parents enough, but that was something that's huge. And obviously I couldn't think of that. That was something that she, motivated us to do.
MashaAllah. So if you don't mind me asking, how long did it take you to complete your memorization?
It took about 2 years and about 8 months.
2 years and 8 months.
2 years, about 8 months, yeah. So starting from qaida, where I thought, when you get into the game of memorizing Quran, I memorized like a juz or something, or half a juz before going. So I was like, I'm just gonna start, memorizing. I sit down. Moses, he takes out the qaida and gives that to me. I was like, I don't need this. He gives it to somebody else. I don't know. So he said, he brought me to my level first, and then we started. Mashallah. Yeah.
So was it ever demotivating to start back from qaida?
In the beginning, it was in the beginning when you think yourself, a little bit too high. But honestly, I was only on there for a few days, I think, not even a week. And once we got the makharij, the sifat down properly, we moved on to Nazra, and we moved on to memorization fairly quickly. I would say Nazra and qaida, I think I was on that for maybe maximum 2 weeks or something like that.
Okay, mashallah.
Yeah, so it wasn't too long.
Okay, mashallah. So, you're memorizing, you're going through the motions, you're about a year in or 6 months in, your brother joins. So, how was that relationship within your classroom? Because both of you guys were in the same class, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So was there, how was that relationship in the sense where were you able to help him out? Was he able to help you out? Was there any back and forth, or was he catching up to you? You're trying to beat him in the race?
In terms of Quran?
Yeah.
In terms of Quran, yeah. I thought you were going to ask me something else, but I'll talk about that in a minute. But in terms of Quran, yes. We learned from our older brothers, Hafiz Atif and Mawlana for the memorized before us, and then obviously my mother was on him just like how she was on me. He kind of knew the groove because he started before me as well. He's more older, he's more mature. So he had that extra motivation, I think, on his own. He didn't really need an outside factor to be motivated. Sometimes, Malzis, we were younger kids that time, so he would ask us, he's like, if somebody finishes, I remember vividly that me and this one other student, I won't mention his name, but we and this other student are in 7 juz, and he wrote the name, he wrote the date. And he said that whoever finishes first, I'm going to give him something. So that kid, that other student, he still remembers. He's like, man, I remember you beat me when we were memorizing 7 juz. So, but, he didn't really, honestly, Malcolm, he didn't really need that extra motivating factor, I would say.
MashaAllah.
Yeah.
Yeah, his answers were he's like, it's a system, just follow the system.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, MashaAllah, that's a different approach to it,
Yeah.
MashaAllah.
Yeah, I mean, it's tried and tested, MashaAllah. They've, the Asian community, the Desi community, they know how to produce hufaz, right? There's a reason why they when they come to a new country or they come to a new city, the first thing that they do is establish a hifz school. They know how to produce it, mashallah.
Yeah,
so I wouldn't really change that system if there is no need to change it. Mashallah, they're doing great things.
Definitely, definitely. Did you have any advantages compared to your classmates by having 2 older siblings that were hufaz?
I mean, just knowing the grind, I would say. Just knowing how they memorize Qur'an and just getting feedback from them. I would say that was definitely a plus. Okay. That was definitely a plus. Brothers for sure were a motivating factor. I would definitely say in the beginning, were a big motivating factor. But the main engine I would definitely say was my mother, throughout the whole Hibs, and then obviously my father coming in, taking us and spending time with us, even after coming from all long days of work, and then taking us and then picking us up at 7 at night or 9 at night. So without the parents, honestly, it wouldn't have happened for sure.
MashaAllah. So you also mentioned that they had like kind of an age limit where you had to join after elementary school, correct? Yeah. So being one of the younger students, did you ever face any challenges while studying?
The thing is, there was other students that were my age, around my age, 1 year, 2 years older. So I wouldn't say necessarily that was much of a difference or much of anything that was difficult during that time. Yeah, alhamdulillah, it was pretty straightforward. When Mawlana Kamal joined, I acted like I was, the king of the boss. And I have an older brother. He's like, these older guys, he's not going to mess with me anymore. He's not going to mess with me anymore. They knew he was, much bigger. He was one of the older students, considered one of the older students of the school. So, that made life a little bit easier as well.
Nice,
but alhamdulillah, no real serious difficulties.
Nice, mashallah. Now, were you using a 13-liner or a 15-liner?
I was using a 13-liner at that time. I was using a 13-liner. So Mawlana, he gave us a 13-liner. It was one of those tajweed Qur'āns. Yeah. So that's kind of what he had me start, and I just kept it. I still use that to revise. So use the Qur'an to revise. Now, since I'm, alhamdulillah, on the path of trying to get multiple ijāzahs, one by one, I couldn't find any 13-liners, that had the different ijāzahs. So, for example, if you try to look for Warsh, if you try to look for Ibn Kathir, if you try to look for Shu'bah, I couldn't find any 13-liners. So that was like a big hiccup. Then I was like, what am I going to do? I was like, all right, I'm just going to have to switch. I just got
to make the hijrah over to the 15-liner.
I had to make the hijrah, it's hard, it's definitely, because you memorize the pages, what the ayahs come in the top of the page, what the ayahs come at the bottom of the page. So you have that visual picture. So obviously that's going to take some time to get used to. But I'm currently, for the riwayah that I'm reciting right now, Ibn Kathir, I use a 15-liner. Because that's the only one I could find.
So what benefit, now since let me ask you a random question, but you're studying between both 13 and 15-liner, correct? Yeah. So what benefits have you found from either the 13 or the 15, and which one would you recommend?
Honestly, I wouldn't say particular, because I've seen students have success with both 15 and 13-liners. It was just, I would just honestly listen to whatever your teacher recommends. It was during my time, he recommended 13-liners. One of the benefits I would say was it gave you more of a motivation, because you say you memorize a page, it's a 13-liner, and you compare that to a 15-liner, that page could be like 3/4 of a page in a 15-liner, or a page in a 15-liner is like a page and a half in a 13-liner. So that was kind of a small motivating factor, I would say. But honestly, I wouldn't, that wouldn't make that my biggest, point of difference, that I'm going to choose a 13-liner because of that. Honestly, I would leave it up to my teacher. They're the teacher for a reason. So I would leave it up to them and see what they would recommend.
Yeah, because for 13-liner, there's 3 pages to 2 pages in a 15.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's an advantage for 15.
Yeah.
You get to, read a little bit more.
For sure.
But I can see that as well, mashallah. Now, how was your, in terms of leading up to the finish line, leading up to that final sabak that you recited? What was that process like, and what was the emotion surrounding you when you were reciting your last sabak and graduating?
Is honestly the first year, it takes, I would say it takes about a good year for students to kind of get into the swing of things in terms of memorizing the verses and making it easy and getting to that habit of memorization. Once you get to that 10th juz and 15th juz, you're able to, mashallah, memorize 1, 2, 3 pages. So we were on a nice roll during that time, trying to compete with other students who are coming in and trying to finish before them, just, small motivating factors. But one thing that I remember Mawlana did with myself, and I'm pretty sure he did it with other students as well, is I was about to finish, and then he stopped my sabak. And that's like, that's like that, on Max where they have that swirly, that rainbow color circle. I don't know what it's called, but that's basically how I felt. I'm just stuck in my tracks.
Yeah.
When he did that, I was like, I did not want to do that. Right?
Yeah.
No, I don't think any Hibs student wants to stop their sabak. It's different nowadays. I talk to my nieces and nephews who are memorizing Qur'ān. They don't really mind sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
But I wasn't having any of that, right? I did not want that, right? And I remember I was talking to my friends at that time, and I was telling them, I was like, man, I didn't want to stop myself. I wanted to finish before so and so student, and I was on a roll. I just didn't want to stop. But obviously, he's a teacher, right? He's a teacher. He has much more experience than me. He's been teaching Quran for like 20, 30 years. Obviously, no logical things come into your mind at that time, right? When you're like a 12-year-old student, right? No logical things come into your mind. But I would say that was probably the most difficult thing to kind of get over during that time when he stopped my sabak. And he said that I want you to do a door completely from 1 to 29 where you are. I want you to recite all of that, and then you could finish off. Then you can finish off. In the beginning, obviously, I wasn't for it, but that was only going to be beneficial for my future. Near future, obviously, we just want to finish fast.
Mm-hmm.
But he's looking at long term. We have short term goals. Obviously, as a 12-year-old, you just to get up short term goals. But he's looking, mashallah, as long term goals, and that was the best decision that needed to be made at that time, for sure. And so, I would, if I had to do it again, I would probably cry about it that time again. But but I would completely agree.
Yeah,
completely agree. Yeah.
So then, you ended up finishing on the 29th shows. I'm assuming Surah Mursalat.
Yeah, Surah Mursalat. Yeah, okay. Yeah. It was a Jumu'ah, I remember, and it was right before our Salat time was about to end, and my father came. One of my father's good friends, he also came, and that feeling when people are finishing Quran, everybody comes and becomes close to the teacher, right? And nobody's reciting, and they're just listening to you recite that final sabak. Everything, even though everybody's there, you just zone them out. I just zoned them out when I was reciting that last sabak. Wouldn't change that experience for $1 million. Wouldn't switch that. If somebody gave me mansions, I wouldn't replace it with that. Yeah, that's something that any Hibs student would I bet you they would say the same thing.
Do you still have to do Amukhta that day?
Amukhta, that's a good question. He probably did make us do it. He probably did.
Like, man, I'm trying to finish.
That's probably why it took me so last minute to finish. It was I was around almost about 12 o'clock, and it was Jumu'ah that day. Mm-hmm. And it was probably around 11:45 where I recited that last sabak. Yeah.
MashaAllah. What advices would you, or let me ask you this first: how do you upkeep your memorization now?
It's that same advice our teachers would give us during that time as a 10-year-old kid, 12-year-old kid, is just keeping that daily recitation practice. Right now, honestly, what keeps me what's a big motivating factor is that ijāzah that I'm trying to get. So and that's I don't see that ever being ending. I don't see that's never ending goal, inshallah. Otherwise, if I say after I get 5 ijazah, then I'm going to be done, then that means I'm going to start reciting Quran. Well, obviously that's no good. So I look at that as a never ending goal. However long it takes, however many Quran khatams I can do, that's my goal, inshallah. So that's a motivating factor, just that ijazah program and preparing to recite in that ijazah program every single week, and obviously Ramadan. I would say those are the two main ones. So ijazah and Ramadan.
MashaAllah. Yeah. Can you explain a little bit or give us a little bit background about your ijazah program that you're in?
Sure. So usually he's a sheikh from Egypt. He studied from Azhar. His name is Sheikh Hamid Ahmed. So he's who I recite to right now. It's one of the blessings of electronics that we can recite to people across the world. So mashallah, it's like around I think like 1 a.m. or 12 a.m. for him, mashallah, and he sits there and he listens. And we all have probably seen teachers who you recite and you make a mistake and they don't catch the mistake, and you're like, okay, he's not listening, I'm just gonna keep on reciting, right? Yeah. No, but make a mistake, he's on you right away. So I know he's paying attention. Yeah, I know he's paying attention. He won't let me, say the next word. If I slip, or sometimes I want him to give me a little chance, but he'll still say that. He'll still say the verse. So, but that's a good thing. That means he's paying attention. So seeing individuals who are of that age and still properly listening to students memorize the Quran, that's who I recite to on a daily basis. I also, alhamdulillah, had a great opportunity to recite to my classmate Mawlāna Arif.
MashaAllah.
I did one khatam with him. So he was, mashallah, a great teacher as well. I highly recommend him as well for students who want to recite in person. So I would say that helped my tajweed quite a bit. I'm not saying that it's at any level, but he helped it much more. It's a different experience when you recite online, as opposed to reciting in person. They can see your mouth, they can see your tongue, they can see the pronunciation of the letters. So alhamdulillah, I was able to do that before starting with Sheikh Hamid. We did one whole khatam with Sheikh Arif, and then started with Sheikh Hamid now.
Let me ask you this. You've been leading Tarawi for how long now?
15, 16 years.
15, 16 years, mashallah. Yeah. How's your first Tarawi?
First Tarawi was in somebody's house. In a house, I remember, in Oakbrook. And I was leading... I found out that I was going to be leading Tarawi a few days before. And I was actually leading with Mawlana Yusuf Ghos. Nice, that was our first Tarawi. We led together in a basement, or not a basement. It was kind of a basement in Oakbrook. Definitely, the pressure was, obviously you have anybody once you're a fresh graduate, you have like even two people behind you, you'll be sweating, like crazy, right? So that was there. But it wasn't the stress of musallis, coming on your back, why are you making this mistake? Why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? They knew that, I was a young graduate, not too old. So it was definitely a good first experience starting off at somewhere small, because it wasn't too much pressure. It wasn't added pressure. It was just the pressure that I put on myself just to make sure I was reciting the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala properly and not making mistakes in salah. But I would say that was a good experience, alhamdulillah.
Nice, mashallah. And over the years, where else have you led?
Over the years, I led at also after that I led with my brother in Batavia.
Nice,
Batavia.
mashallah.
I remember, I think we met there, mashallah, years back, right? Years back. I think that was one of the first times I met you. Met you and your brother, mashallah, and I think your father is there as well, mashallah. So I led there for quite a few years. And after Batavia, I led at MCC in Chicago for 2 years.
Yes,
and just after that, I just kind of started going across wherever, honestly, it was. There was Ohio. If you went a few times to Ohio, then kind of, honestly, wherever I could go. I didn't really care about where the place was. I went to Arkansas. People are like, why are you going to Arkansas? I was like, I don't care. Why I'm going to Arkansas? I'm going to Arkansas to lead Tarawi. That's it. I'm not going to go check out the cities. They don't really have anything in Arkansas anyways, but they have Walmarts, sir. They have Walmarts, mashallah.
They have Aldi's?
Huh?
Do they have Aldi?
Aldi's, I don't know if they have Aldi's. I think Walmart took over there with mashallah. Bentonville, yeah. They got like 5 Walmarts in every street.
Yes, mashallah.
Yeah.
So you've led in places where. So what I was trying to get at was, mashallah, you've led in places where there's not many musallis behind you. It may be a house, or it could be someplace like Batavia,
Yeah.
where there's probably 15, 20 people,
Yeah.
to maybe larger communities in Ohio and possibly in Arkansas.
Yeah.
What advices would you have for individuals who are currently leading or that are looking to lead Salat al-Taraweeh?
Yeah, that's a good question. I would say, honestly, when you finish Hibs, just lead. Just lead wherever it is, even if it's your closet, right? Even if it's your closet, even if it's your own basement. You can't find a place to lead. I know there's many hufaz, mashallah. That's a good thing, right? You can't find a place to lead, but just lead at your house. Just lead at your house. I mean, you don't need to lead at a specific location for it to be called Tarawi. You can still could be called Tarawi. Tarawi is, you pray it after Isha Salah, and you finish it before Fajr, inshallah, that's your Tarawi. So honestly, lead wherever you can. I know many of my friends who went off to school, college, university, started working. They said, I'm busy, I can't lead. I was telling them, just lead at home. Just lead at home. It's better than not leading. It's better than not leading. You finishing 10 juz, you finishing 15 juz, with a partner, with 2 partners, or 3 partners. Make it a nice community experience with you, your friends, and just lead. Just lead, honestly. I would. That's what I would say. Don't ever stop leading. I remember Malziz would always tell us, whatever you do, just lead. Whatever you do, just lead. He wasn't too excited about whenever we lead with somebody, but sometimes in Chicago, obviously, it's difficult to find a spot alone, and that's one of the conditions that I always tell whenever I'm going out. I was like, I want to lead alone. That's my condition. I'm not because I'm pretty kacha. I'm just because that's an opportunity for me to push myself, to motivate myself, and to push myself. Otherwise, if you're leading with somebody, you're gonna be like, all right, I'm just gonna, just recite 15 juz or 10 juz, and then I'll let him do the rest. And you'll say, I'll read the other juz. Yeah, you're not gonna read the other juz, right? You're not gonna read the other juz. Like, we always say we're gonna read this other juz. It's not gonna happen, right?
Yeah.
So you really have to know yourself. But any advice, simply just lead. Just lead wherever you can find a place. If you can't find a place, do it at your house. You have your parents there, you have your brothers there, you have your siblings there, anybody's there. Even if it's just you, doesn't matter. COVID, right? COVID's there. You just lead alone then, right? You just lead alone with your mask, inshallah, right? So we find
mashallah. What advices would you have for individuals who are doing hifz, and or maybe in like 2-3 folds? One, there'll be somebody who's actually memorizing currently. Number one. Number two, there's somebody who's looking to memorize. They might be a little bit older or younger. They can either do it at a full-time or part-time capacity. And being an educator, being a teacher yourself, what advices would you have for the parents who want to push and motivate their children to do hifz?
First off, I would say everything that we do and everything that we say is wahi based. It's just grounded in wahi. And the Prophet ﷺ, he said in the hadith that everybody knows that man qara harfan min kitabillah falahu hasana wal hasanatu bi ashri amthaliha la aqulu alif lam mim harfun walakin alif harfun wa lam harfun wa mim harfun. That every single letter that you recite of the Qur'an, you get one good deed, and that good deed is multiplied by 10. And when you're about to pass away, right? When you're about to pass away, reality hits you. And you think back in your life, what's the most important deeds that I did? You're not gonna be like, oh, was that was that Honda that I purchased, or it was that Toyota Camry that I purchased, or it was that house that I purchased. Oh, it's gonna be those deeds that are going to help you when you go to that 6 feet deep place, and then to that next life. That's what's gonna be coming to your mind. That money, that how much you have in the bank, that's everybody needs, a certain amount, X amount of dollars to, take care of their family, the essentials of living. But when it's all, done, nothing replaces just being grounded in the deeds mentioned by the Prophet ﷺ, mentioned by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's how, if you needed to motivate somebody, I would mention that to them. I would mention that to the students themselves, to the young students that are looking to go from public school or just going from secular school to Hibs. I honestly, thinking of that hadith is just makes my day. You can't really replace that with anything else. That hadith comes to mind. I would say, just that unlimited amount of deeds. You mean one letter. right? I mean, just it's one letter, right? And when I think of that hadith, I don't mean to digress, but when I think of that hadith, I think about how much reward our teachers get,
Mashallah.
how much reward our teachers get for us reciting every single year in Tarawi, every single year throughout the year. But I would say that that would be a motivating factor. I think I think that would be enough of a motivating factor for students. You would want to look at deeds that are going to help you currently and in the future as well. So it's going to help you in the present and in the future. Is memorizing Qur'an. If you want to think of it from secondary benefits, you can think of it as you're going to improve your memory. Parents always think of, you're always talking about deen. What about dunya? You can get dunya as well. You're going to be able to improve your memory. I can't tell you how many classmates of mine went on to become doctors, went on to become engineers, went on to become dentists. Why? Because they had that kitabullah in their heart, and they built that aspect of memory. You go to public school, they think you're crazy. You sat for how many hours memorizing what? They can't even believe it when you tell them that. When you tell them you memorize the entire book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's not a concept, in their religion. And that's the beauty of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when He promised that inna nahnu nazzalna dhikra wa inna lahu lahafidhun, when He said that He was going to protect it. I remember Mawlāna Aziz, he gave the tafsir, and he said that the hafidhun, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that we are going to reveal the Qur'an and we are going to protect it. What that means is we're going to protect it by two groups of individuals. Number one is the kalam of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We're going to protect the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Means it's going to be unfiltered, unadulterated. Nobody's going to be able to change even one harakah. How do we know that? Because you have young kids from 5 years old all the way to 100 years old memorizing Qur'an. And that's, if I come and try to change something, nobody's going to be able to change it. A little 5-year-old will be able to tell you that's wrong. And that's in terms of the kalam, the actual wording. And the other group of individuals that's going to protect the Qur'ani are the ulama, who are going to protect the meaning. So nobody said going on the path of knowledge and seeking Qur'an is going to be an easy one, but it's definitely going to be a rewarding one in this life and in the next life, inshallah.
Now, after your hifz, after you've completed your memorization, you went back to school?
I went back to school. Then I wanted to go right back to madrasa. As I'm pretty sure a lot of my friends and classmates, they experienced that when they were done. My parents actually they had me stay an extra year to do door. So
how was that?
That was not something that I wanted to do initially. You're done with hifz, you want to go to public school, right? That's the first thing on your mind. You want to just go to public school, not because you don't know anything about public school, but you just want to go. You just want to leave madrasa, okay? You want to experience something else. So I was telling my parents, I want to go to public school. I want to go to public school. Like, no, you're going to do one more year of door. I was like, all right, fine. We're going to do one more year of door, one more year of fun, inshallah. All right. So we had, we relaxed. We had schooling there as well. We had English, math, science going on simultaneously. But after that, I went back to public school for sophomore year. The day I stepped, first day of class, I was like, I want to go back. That was informing that environment. I was like, this is not the environment. This is not conducive to anybody's iman. This is not conducive to anybody's Islam. I know there are tests in life, but there's no reason to put yourself in unnecessary tests. I'm saying this being somebody who taught in public school, who went to public school, and I'm not coming from like that. Oh, he's just that Mawli background. He just went to madrasa his whole life. Now you can't say that about me because I taught there. I taught there. I went there. It's not conducive to anybody's Islam. I don't care what you say. You have individuals wearing, the things that they wear. You're seeing the things that you see, and you're coming from a background where you're reading Quran the whole day, right? You're reading Quran the whole day, and now you're coming across individuals who barely cover themselves on a daily basis. That was probably one of the most difficult things to come across after being around Hufaz and ulama and being around the Quran every single day. Was my first experience. I would tell my friends at high school, the few friends that I did have, I would tell them that I'm going to go back. I'm going to go back this year. I'm going to go back. And it just so happened that one year that I went back to school, that sophomore year, we decided to go for Hajj. And Hajj was, a few weeks long, but then right after that we were going to Pakistan. So I was already gonna miss like 2 months. I was like, all right, this is a perfect opportunity for me. This is a perfect excuse for me to tell my parents I wanted to, I was trying to motivate them to let me do ʿālim course, let me just skip school. Obviously, it's a big decision. You're just leaving high school. It's not a small decision. But I bothered them every single day to, and especially when we went for Hajj, then we went to Pakistan. I bothered them every single day about let me just leave school. And it was that time where Mawlana Kamal, he already made the decision to start. So I wanted to start with him. And he was missing the first 1 or 2 months, first few months of the year. But he was going to catch up. He talked to the teachers and they were going to help him out. So I was like, let me do it. Let me go with him. My mom and dad are like, no, look, I want you to finish off at least this year. Finish off this year and then decide. So we finished off the year. I didn't change my decision. I was still firm. I was telling everybody during lunch, I'm not going to be here next year. I'm going to be gone here. I was, all the Muslim, friends that we had, I was just telling them. And alhamdulillah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala opened up doors for me to go back to IE and start the ʿālim course there.
MashaAllah. Yeah. I wanted to backtrack a little bit. You mentioned you went for Hajj. Was that your first Hajj?
That was my first Hajj.
How was that experience?
It was beautiful. I mean, from just having my family, the entire family there, and then alhamdulillah, the group that we had was quite amazing as well. They looked out for us like no other. And obviously, Hajj is an experience that you can't really describe with words, but it was absolutely amazing experience. From first seeing the Kaaba, first seeing the Rawda of the Prophet ﷺ, everybody making dua in Arafah on the mountain. I mean, that was an amazing experience. It didn't feel like there was any hardships there because how easy it was, and that was like about 13, 14 years ago, and it just gets easier year by year. So that was definitely, I would say, a big motivating factor for me to do ʿālim course. It's ajib how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala plans things, right? I didn't think at all I would be on that path after memorizing Qur'ān, and the last year when I was at IE for Dor, I was like, I want to go to public school. I never thought in my mind that I would willingly, myself, just nobody else, no outside factors, no motivation, go back to IE and be able to just, sit there and memorize and study the deen. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he's the most bountiful. He gives greatest bounties, and we're just trying to be as grateful as possible for that.
Inshallah. So after your sophomore year, you end up enrolling into IE.
Yeah.
So Mawlana Kamil joined Hibs because of you. You joined ʿālim course because of
I had a feeling you were going to say that. Yeah, I mean, mashallah, he was definitely a motivating factor for sure.
Mashallah.
He was definitely a motivating factor. But I would even backtrack than that. Hafiz Atif, he was the first one that wanted to study.
Mashallah.
He was the first one that wanted to study the deen, and he tried. There were just that many opportunities during his time.
Yeah.
There were just not that many opportunities. He was a few years older than Mawlana Kamal. So during his time, there was no, at IE, they didn't really have anything set at that time. They might have just had some Arabic courses, summer courses, weekend courses, things like that, but nothing set. Even in North America, we didn't know of any. But he tried his best, and he started learning Arabic, and we saw that. And that was definitely a motivating factor for us as well.
So how was it the first day getting into madrasa, getting into the ʿālimiyyah program?
We were used to, sitting down. I was used to, sitting down for hours. Mm-hmm. So that aspect of sitting on the floor, might have been difficult for other students who were older or who didn't memorize Qur'an. I saw that as kind of a little bit more of a difficulty for them. But, I was kind of used to that. And it was the same school that I went to before, so there wasn't really much of any hiccups. So alhamdulillah, I would say, really wasn't really difficult. Just sitting there and learning from other teachers at the institute who, they were teachers, obviously, to us, but obviously Mawlana Aziz was my only hifz teacher. I didn't really recite to anybody else. Mm. So being able to benefit from the other teachers who I would kind of just joke around with, while during Hibs, and seeing that the knowledge that they had and the knowledge I can gain from them was, absolutely amazing. You don't truly appreciate, your teachers until you start sitting at their feet and learning from them. You might see a scholar, oh, he's, Sheikh so-and-so, Ustad so-and-so. But when you start sitting at their feet and you start gaining benefit from them, you see the true scholarship that they have. And that's when I began appreciating the madrasa and the teachers even more, when I started doing Alm course.
MashaAllah, MashaAllah. How long was your curriculum?
It was about 5 years.
5 years,
years,
MashaAllah. And then how big or small was your classrooms?
Class size?
Yeah.
So we had, it was myself, Mawlana Arif, Mawlana Muhammad, Imam Mustafa, and Imam Khalid. So about 5 of us.
Was there any difficulty in you? A lot of times everyone tells you, surf is very dry.
Sure.
Was there any difficulties learning a new language? And were there any advantages already being a Hafiz of Quran?
So I love surf, right? I love surf, right? Surf was that, it was dry, but it was like memorizing Quran all over again, right? I would go, take that surf book and go after Asr and just do my gardans like how I would be memorizing sabak.
Yeah,
it was beautiful. I loved it. Other students, they if they didn't memorize Quran, if they weren't in that aspect of rote memorization, then definitely I could see that as being difficult. But I love that subject because it was really easy for me to do. Yes, so that was something that I loved. But aspects of Nahu was difficult. I would say the whole construct of sentences. Where do you put the the noun and where do you put the verb? Does it come first? Does it come after? Words that are hidden in the Arabic language that we usually put in the English language, like the word is. It took me the longest time to figure out that is not. You don't write it is in Arabic. Right? It's there. It's moved to the khabar, right? It took me the longest time. I would look up Hanzras. I would look up Mawlid. Where's is? I can't find is. Right. So just kind of connecting the two languages. It's never going to be a symmetry. Obviously, it's a whole other language. But English is the only language that I knew. So kind of trying to pick up that new language, vocabulary. Creating sentence structure, that was difficult. Yeah, that was not easy in the beginning. One thing that definitely helped was having somebody a year above me. So I had Mawlana Kamal. I would just go annoy him every time, right? Like I annoy him anytime, because he already had it down. He already studied Sarf. He already studied Nahu. So if I had a question, I'll just go walk up in his room and just go bother him. Like, hey, can you check my sentences real quick? Check my sentences. So we would create sentences, and I would just bother him and classmates. And just I would say Nahu would probably be one of the more difficult subjects in the beginning. Having that grind of continuously creating sentences, that made it much easier. Because you're making the mistakes rather than you just reading perfectly well sentences in Qasas an-Nabi, and that's good, but that's not going to be as good as you creating your own broke sentences, 2-word sentences, 3-word sentences, and making those mistakes of saying al-imra'atu salihun, right? So you're not going to be saying it's not going to be matching. You're going to okay, now it makes sense that you have to match in gender. Okay, it's going to be it's going to be much better when you actually start creating sentences. Yeah.
MashaAllah, MashaAllah. Now, a lot of times, we're always told about how rigorous these ʿālimiyyah programs are. How much time are you studying outside of, or can you just walk me through the actual schedule of what you guys had generally in terms of studies and how much time you're studying outside of classroom settings?
It's like people say health is your lifestyle, right? So Alim course is your lifestyle. I don't think of doing anything else, honestly. I don't think of doing anything else while I'm there. We have class. Yeah, sure. We have class, for example, from 8 to 4. That was the first 4 years of Alim course. We had class from 8 to 4. Okay. After that, yeah, we might have, we might play some sports or do something as a hobby. But then it's right back to your books. You're doing, so there's 3 aspects, obviously, studies, as you all know, is mutala, takrar, right? Mutala and takrar and hudur. So you have your attendance. You can't learn anything if you're not there. Okay, you have attendance. Then you have preparing for the next day's lesson. And then takrar is reviewing yesterday's lesson. So by you just doing those 3 things, that takes up your entire day. I wasn't really doing much more important things at that time. It's either studying or playing sports, right? Studying, playing sports. It wasn't, life was simple. So I honestly, our day would day would go by just having class, doing the homework, preparing tomorrow's class, and reviewing yesterday's class, and go to sleep. That was basically, it was quite simple. The days, that was the initial years. Once you have that foundation set, we started having class on the weekends as well. So Saturday and Sunday, especially in our last year when we wanted to finish some of the Dawra books, some of the Hadith books. So we would have class for 2-3 hours on Saturday and Sunday, and then even on I would be there from Monday through Friday from like 7 a.m. to about 8 p.m. We would have class throughout the day. We have 7 to like 4 straight, and then have a little break, but then another 2-hour session at night, just to make up for it, just to make sure that we were able to finish. Obviously, it's kind of like any master's program, where it gets more rigorous as it goes to the end. So this just got rigorous to the point where we're 7 days a week. But alhamdulillah, yeah, it was beautiful.
MashaAllah. Yeah. What was your favorite subject learning as a student?
I would say Sarf was one of my favorites.
Sarf was your favorite?
Sarf was my favorite in the
MashaAllah.
beginning. In the beginning, I would say Sarf was I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed doing the different, Sarf Saghir, Sarf Kabir. I enjoyed that. That was just, those tongue twisters that made my day, mashallah. Because it was something that I knew, right? Just memorizing and saying difficult words in difficult gendered tenses. It was something that I knew and something that I practiced with the Qur'ān. So it was something that I loved in the beginning. Then after that, we have subjects, any subject where allowed us to create our own sentences, create our own paragraphs. That's what I loved. So whether it was Arabiya Nashi'in, whether it was Durus al-Lugha, any book that allowed us to create sentences, I enjoyed that. Those are initially, I would say those are my favorite subjects. And then in later years, tafsir and hadith, it's hard. You can't really choose. It's hard to choose. Depends on the teachers as well. Teaching style depends on the book. But yes, definitely tafsir. Learning the sabab al-nuzul, why this surah was revealed, what was the backdrop behind this verse, and hadith. Obviously, hadith, that's as the Prophet ﷺ, he's our uswa, right? لَقَدْ كَانَ لَكُمْ فِي رَسُولِ اللَّهِ أُسْوَةٌ حَسَنَةٌ. The Prophet ﷺ is our uswa, he's our perfect role model. So learning his hadith, whether it was statements, whether it was his qawl, his actions, his af'al, or his taqreer or iqrar, his tacit approvals, that was that you can spend all day doing that, right? You can spend all day doing this, like you can spend all day reciting Qur'an. So honestly, it was hard to choose. It's kind of hard to choose a specific subject, because they all bring their own, masala, if you want to call it, right? They all bring their own masala. They all bring their own aspects of uniqueness. And it's good to have a mixture of them.
Now, were you ever living? Did you ever dorm during this time, or were you still going back and forth between home?
I was still going back and forth majority of the time. Yeah,
Okay,
majority
cool.
of the time, yes.
This is one question I always want to ask you. Can you tell us a story about you wearing all orange? There's this picture. If I can pull it up, if I can find it, I'm gonna put it up with this.
I hope it's not there anymore. Huh? I hope it's not there. I don't know what we were thinking that time. Huh? I don't know what we were thinking. Yeah.
I remember one time I walked into MSI and you're just you were just dripping in orange, and I was just like, I was so confused. I was like, what is that, safety hazard?
Oh my goodness. Yeah, it was a good construction costume, It was for Halloween. I don't know what we were thinking, huh? I had orange socks, orange thobe, I had an orange hoodie, even an orange hat.
Yeah,
it was a whole 9 yards, mashallah. I mean, I don't know what we were thinking. We would go home, we would buy, for example, a thobe, or some 1 or 2 expensive thobes, and then we would just go to Pakistan and have them made, right? Just go have them in Pakistan and have them made. And our mom, she would just, she would, whatever we would ask, usually, if we wanted to step a thobe, she didn't really care. So she was like, she looked at, when I told her orange thobe, she looked at me for a second like, what is this guy ordering? She made it, right? She made it. That was just because I don't know honestly, I don't even remember why we were thinking of Merino. I have no idea. I don't know what we were thinking, honestly, there. But I'm glad it's probably doesn't exist anymore.
Hopefully, inshallah, if somebody has it, let me know. Mashallah. Can you tell me, I want to transition a little bit. We'll get back to your alim course as well. Can you speak to us a little bit about your family, your background? You mentioned your parents a lot. Your father, rahimallahu, passed away recently, leaving behind such a legacy and such pillars in the community itself. Can you share with us a little bit about your family and about him?
Sure. So family, what can I say? I mean, we would do everything together.
MashaAllah.
We do everything together. Whether it's going to salah, those are the I still remember our father would wake us up for salah. All five of us go together for Fajr salah, half awake, walking back to the car, half awake still. I still remember. Don't tell Mawlana Asif, but sometimes he would be half awake and he'd walk into the wrong car. Right? You go to the wrong car, right? But those things, you don't like it during that time because you're sleeping. You're thinking that I want to be warm. I want to just go to sleep. But honestly, all the things that we did as a family, that was I would say that's things that you remember until you pass away. Our father used to always say that I don't know. He said he always like take out his hand and he'd say that he had five brothers as well. So that he said that we were like this as well. Our father would say that we're five brothers, and for us to stick together, these five have to be connected. These five have to be connected. So he had five siblings. There were five siblings, and he had five sons as well. And he always motivated and encouraged us, and not just motivated and encouraged us, but showed us by example of how to stay together as a family unit for anything that we do. He loved doing things together. Anything that we would do, he would always like, "Oh, you didn't tell your brother about it? You didn't tell you didn't tell that. What about him? You didn't tell him about it?" I was like, "Yeah, we're going to go together. We'll make family trips. Whether it's going to salah, memorizing Qur'ān. After Fajr, I remember we would come back and we would be all sitting at the dining table and reciting Qur'ān together. Sure. Whether it's 5-10 minutes, whether we're falling asleep, it's still together, right? It's still together. So that's one thing that I would say. I wouldn't replace that for anything in the world. And that translated to kind of other aspects of life. Whenever we would play basketball, we all come together. Or whenever we would play football, we all come together and play together. It wasn't just two of them were going or three of them were going. No, we're all go together. We all go together. So we have our squad, mashallah. We got our five. So we starting five, inshallah. So we that's something that our parents definitely instilled in us from my early age through their examples.
And what advices would you have? I mean, learning from, mashallah, your father, you being a father yourself, how what advices would you give to parents with kids growing up in this day and age?
I like to tell things by stories.
Yeah.
So we went to Pakistan, and when a Pakistani, they hear an American's coming, they think somebody who is completely not religious, right? No beard, doesn't know how to pray salah, doesn't know how to do istinja, doesn't know anything about the deen. So when they saw my father, and they would ask him this question, how are you guys practicing the religion there? They would always be surprised. Like, how are you even practicing deen? He's like, what do you mean, how are you practicing deen? This is just like how you're practicing over here. You give them the environment. We put them in the right environment. They're gonna thrive. So that was something that he kind of instilled in us, that it doesn't matter the environment around you. The world's gonna get crazier and crazier until the day of Qiyamah. You're gonna see all types of things. You're going to see all types of things happening at the masjid. You're going to see all types of things happening around you at school. You just got to learn how to zone those out and focus on what's important, what's priority in your life. So he taught us that. I mean, even as, whether it's not going to certain family parties because you got to memorize Qur'an. Okay, it's small things like that. I remember I would ask my mom, how come we don't go to their house anymore? How come we go visit their house anymore? So she would say that that environment is not conducive to your Quranic learning. That's not conducive to your Islam. It's not conducive to your your upbringing. That's why we don't go there anymore. Okay, not because we don't like them. She'll talk to them on the phone. We'll talk to them on the phone. That doesn't mean we have to go there and sit with them and unnecessarily ruin our how should I say, our Islamic and upbringing, just because they're somebody that we used to hang out with. That doesn't mean anything. They can hang out with new friends if they wanna get closer to the Deen. Then we're sure we if they have Deen as a priority, then sure we'll hang out with them. We'll do things what we need to do. But that's priorities in life. Honestly, they parents instill that in us. You go with your priorities. Islam is obviously nothing is more important than your Islam, so you go with that. Everything else is fluff. It can come and go, and you build that foundation strong based off of your iman and your Islam, and everything else. My father always said, everything else will come. So everything else will come. That's so true. Like everything else will come. It's people like, oh, I want to get the newest phone, and then 1 year later, I want to get the newest phone again. I want to get the newest car. Yeah, that's going to keep on happening every single year. The thing is with wahi, it's grounded. It's not going to change. So you have to associate with things that don't change, like wahi. Okay, that's why everything that we do in everything that we need to be doing in life is grounded in wahi. Whether it's a career, whether it's waking up in the morning, whether it's going to school, whether it's how we treat our parents, whether how we treat our spouse. Everything has to be grounded in wahi, because wahi doesn't change. Culture, all that stuff, that changes. The color, jubbas that we wear, orange to blue, that changes, right? From red to white, that all changes. But wahi, that doesn't change. So he always taught us to remain firm in that foundation of Islam, and just kind of blur out that fluff that's there. People are going to say all types of things. They're going to say all types of things. If I can share one story of one of my teachers, he would say that when he was building his school, he was starting the institute. He's like, why are you starting this institute here? You go to like India or go to Pakistan and start it. It's like, nobody's going to come to you. So nobody's going to come to you. He's like, that's fine. Nobody's going to come to me. We'll still start it. And every single state that I go to, there's always a student that graduated from IE or has some association with IE there. And that's, across the globe. You'll see that with other madaris as well. So just because people don't believe in you, that doesn't matter. As long as you have that tawakkul in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and you know what you're doing is right based off of your mashwara with scholars, so your mashwara with, you're doing your istikhara with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and you go with that. Because that's what's grounded. Everything else, it's all fluff. It changes.
Jazakallah khair for that.
Yeah, go ahead.
So going back to your studies, how was it your final year of studies? Your final years leading up to graduation, and how was graduation itself?
I was mentioning that earlier that it just our last year kind of took it to another level, which you are trying to study the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, as many as you possibly can, using the Siha Sitta, the 6 canonical works. So we were doing that on a daily basis, Monday through Sunday. So it got even more rigorous. We thought it was rigorous when it was Monday through Friday. It got even more rigorous, when it was Monday through Sunday. And that's if you don't realize it then, that like, well, why are we having class on the weekend? You shouldn't be there. Right? You shouldn't be there. Like, you shouldn't be complaining, why are we having class on the week? You should say, why don't we have more class on the weekend? Like, your lifestyle should be studying the deen. If it shouldn't be where I want to study the deen and do like a few other things as well, work on my side business type of thing, and then if I have time, I'll study the books. No, you're not going to get anywhere like that. You're not going to get anywhere like that. We have many students that do that. MashaAllah, they'll study, get the barakah of it for sure. Okay, but you want true scholarship. You have to love what you do. You have to love what you do. I mean, if you don't love what you do, if you just saying that I'll do it in my free time type of thing, then it's not going to work. So with any student of the Islamic sciences, you can't complain about what you don't have, or what you can't complain about the opportunities that aren't in front of you. I remember one of the things that you were asking of studying abroad. I thought about that before. Okay, I thought about that before, but during my studies, that didn't cross my mind. I'm started here, and that's the thing that we learned from our parents. I started here. I'm going to continue here. Sure, there are going to be obstacles. That's fine. I'm still going to continue. That never crossed my mind once that I was going to leave. Never crossed my mind. I didn't even think about that. I was, you're much more mature. You're at that age. You're not doing it for anybody. You're doing it for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And you realize that. And even when you're having class 7 days a week, you appreciate. You don't think it's a burden, but you appreciate that your teachers are taking the time out of their family life and teaching you on the weekend, right? Yeah, sure. It's not that, oh man, it's a burden. When you think of it as a burden, then you don't even realize how much effort that they're putting in for you, studying. People think that teaching is, just you come there 8 to 4 and you sit down and just Mawlana just blurts out whatever it's on his mind. And it's no. How do I know? Because you appreciate, just like how a parent, right? You truly appreciate your parents even more once you become a parent. And same thing with teaching. You truly appreciate a teacher when you become a teacher, and you see the amount of hours you need to put in before class, after class. You got homework, exams, and things of that sort. So the hours that they spent just reading the shuruhat and reading the hashiyas of one hadith, 2 hadith, or that tafsir, or this tafsir, it was probably hours, hours, and realizing that you have so much appreciation for your teachers. If you don't have appreciation for your teachers, you don't have respect for your teachers, you're not going to go anywhere and get anywhere in life. You can be the smartest individual on the face of this planet, but you don't show appreciation, you don't show respect to them. You can't really see great things happening then. So I would say, just be showing appreciation to my teachers, even them for being able to take the time out even on the weekends and weeknights, taking away from their family time, taking away from their own kids to spend time with us. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's a whole other family for them, right? So we're basically their kids as well. They took care of us, to feed us. When it would break time, they would be feeding us. It would be, I remember one of our teachers and my father would be there, feeding us food. I got my real father, then we got my teacher father, right? Feeding us food. Oh man, I want more chicken.
So after graduation, how was graduation day?
That was finally the one time where we got to stand up in front of our teachers and say something to all of them, in one place. Mm-hmm. So they are, our teachers always say that you're not really graduating now, but we're giving you the tools. Right? We're giving you the tools so that you can pursue further studies. Now you have the tools to study. Mm-hmm. You're not done studying. You're not graduating from anything, right? Make sure you put you in your place, right? So you didn't graduate from anything. They give you the tools. Now you can actually study. Mm-hmm. Right? Now you can actually study. So for us to kind of, in front of everybody, being able to show that appreciation so other people and ourselves could truly appreciate the work and the hours and the years that they put in to teach us. Mm-hmm. So that's what I would, I remember, saying to my teachers. Doesn't matter how old they were, they're 60, 70, 80 years old, still spending 4-6 hours teaching us every single day. Sure. I mean, that's unheard of in public. You go to university setting, that's unheard of. It's. I don't mean to. I can bash university, right? Because I went to university too. So people, those other parents that can't say things. When I don't want to give them a chance to say stuff. You're like, oh, he just went to madrasa, whatever. So, when you compare like madrasa days to, like, whether you're studying psychology or whether you're studying any of the sciences at secular school, you'll ask the student, oh, you're taking the full load. How many hours is that? Oh, it's 14 credit hours or 12 credit hours. Like, how many days a week you have class? Oh, 3 days a week. Like, 3 days a week? We mean 3 days a week, man. So I remember it was such a smooth transition, right? Because you're going from studying 7 days a week, like 8 hours a day, and you're going to that now. So definitely, I would say to parents that it's only going to build their stamina even more. Whether it's memorizing Qur'ān, whether it's doing ām course, it's only going to make them even stronger, mentally as well, to prepare for all of the struggles in university and all of their life struggles when they become a parent themselves, inshallah.
So after you graduated, you went to university. You got a degree in education, correct? Mm-hmm. Why did you pursue education? Was that something you always wanted to do?
No, it wasn't. I thought I was more like a hands-on person. Mm-hmm. So when I after we graduated from IE, I was kind of just thinking of what am I going to do. We started classes at Darul Qasim, but I'll get back to that later, inshallah. We were continuing our education there, but I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do. So the first thing that came to mind was become a mechanic, right?
Nice.
Become a mechanic.
Wait, did you put the Mercedes stickers on your car?
Don't blame me for that one. Don't blame me for that Mercedes Saturn, right? Don't blame me. No. That was Wiratha that was given to me later on. That wasn't my idea in the beginning, though. That was all Mawlana Asif. I'm gonna blame it on him. Put in a Mercedes sticker that's not even from America. I think it was from Pakistan, anyways. Right? He put that on Saturn, thinking that he's gonna give him some turbo boost. Right? What was it saying?
You want to become a mechanic?
Oh yeah. So I that's what I thought I was gonna do first. I thought I wanted to work on something hands-on. I took a class. One or two classes, and it was fun. I was like, I don't want to do this full time. I don't want to do this full time. Then I, seriously thought, what can I do that can complement what I already did at IE? What can I do that could complement that? And Mawlana Asif, he had the education degree as well before me.
Sure.
So I saw how it helped him in regards to his studies. And one thing I didn't mention, Mawlana Asif, he joined after Mawlana Kamal, right, at IE. So he joined. So again, having both of them there was another motivating factor that I didn't mention earlier. And obviously he was older than both of us, so that's a different type of motivation. It's a different type of motivation when you see somebody who's older than you, but they have they're starting off fresh, right? They're starting off fresh. So use that as a motivation for sure. But going back here, mechanical school. It was good. It was nice and fun. During that year, learn how to change tires. I learned how to do an oil change, and things. Small things that would be good life skills. But at the end of the day, I didn't think that it was a good fit. So we went with education, more specifically K through 8. It was called like elementary education. Now I think they split it up, elementary, middle school, and high school. But during when I was studying, it was K through 8. I knew I didn't want to go back into that public school, high school age.
Yeah.
I didn't want to go back there. So I didn't want to deal with those two students. I wanted to work with more of the younger crowd. So that's kind of where I thought would complement the Alim course studies as well.
Nice, mashallah. So you were studying you went to Benedictine, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, nice, mashallah. And you mentioned that you were also taking classes at Dar al-Qasim.
Yeah. So during Alim course, I did some studying at college as well. So I was able to finish like 1 year or 2 years of studying.
Oh, nice, mashallah.
Yeah, so it worked out well where I didn't start completely fresh right after. So I was able to finish I think like 1 year of the prerequisite classes, and then after Alim course, that's where I went to community college. Then I went to BU. Yeah.
Nice, mashallah. And then what were you studying at Dar al-Qasim?
Dar al-Qasim, basically we were doing I would say it's like a takmila program, which is basically studying higher books in every science. So obviously there's only so many books and so many texts that we could study at IE based off of the time and based off of the teachers. So it gave us that opportunity to study as a class. Majority of our class we transferred from IE to Dar al-Qasim after we studied. So it was a beautiful opportunity, and Dar al-Qasim was just kind of it was just getting more known in the community as well. During that time, it was relatively it was obviously Sheikh Min had his programs, he had his tafsir, had his durus, but they didn't have like a full-time alim course at that time. So it was more in its infancy during that time, and we were able to take a lot of advantage from Sheikh Amin, Dr. Omar Farooq Abdullah, some of the other teachers there. We were able to take advantage, and it was a really beautiful opportunity for us because we all wanted to continue our studies. That's what all of us knew we wanted to do. We just didn't know how. And this opportunity just opened up, and spending time with the senior like Sheikh Amin, who's lived in America for decades, and that experience. So he really was able to help bring that content that we learned into the context. And Sheikh Amin always talks about that. So that really helped me in furthering my own studies.
MashaAllah. What did you do after graduating college? Yeah.
After Benedictine, so after we did after I did my student teaching, teaching in the public schools, I immediately, I contacted Sheikh Bin and I told him, I wanna get on board in terms of if you have, the opportunity to let me teach here.
Mm-hmm.
And he was more than welcome, welcome. So that's where I started full time teaching at Dar al-Qasim. I was teaching part time before that, but not on a full time basis. So that's when I started full time after BU.
Nice, mashallah.
Yeah.
Can you explain to us a little bit about student teaching?
You're basically, for those that don't know, you're basically doing all the responsibilities of a teacher, but not getting paid.
Nice.
Yeah, so that's basically, so they're obviously you're getting the experience.
Mm-hmm.
You're getting the experience by teaching the subjects. So you take like one subject at a time from the teacher, and you just make lessons plans and you show it to the teacher, and the teacher's like staring at you from the corner, right? Just staring at you and seeing how you present to the class and how you interact with the class, and you essentially after a few weeks become the main teacher. You essentially become the main teacher, and you take over the class for the entire semester, as if it's your own class. So you're grading, you're doing lesson planning, you're talking to the parents, parent-teacher conference, you're doing everything.
How has your degree and education helped you and assisted you in these manners?
Anything that you talk to community, or whether it's adults or youth, in my case, it has to be in an engaging manner.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of one thing that we learned in our education degree, is that you can have the best content, but if you don't have a good delivery, it's going to be useless, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be useless. So just learning how to catch the audience and engage them with that content, that's kind of the most important thing I would say that I took from there. Half of what they teach you is classroom management as well, because kids are kids, right? If you can't have them sit on the chair, then they're not going to learn anything anyways. But I would say that yes, it's all related to specifically in regards to how to deliver to the community. So
Mm-hmm.
that helped me in regards to khutbahs. That helps me in regards to teaching the youth, especially obviously at Masjid Huda, and my full-time job at Dar al-Qasim, lesson planning, creating syllabi, teaching. So I don't really teach much difference than maybe crack a little bit less jokes in Dar al-Qasim than I do at Aida Masjid. They're a similar style, right? It's just, we have a little bit more content to cover at Dar al-Qasim, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I wouldn't say much difference with how I teach there and how I teach other places, whether it's khutbah. It's that delivery and being able to catch that audience with your delivery. So I wouldn't see that changes from any of those places, whether it's teaching adults, whether it's teaching kids.
When did you start teaching at Dar al-Qasim exactly? And what are you currently teaching?
I started teaching in 2015.
Okay.
Yeah, 2015. Yeah.
And what are you currently teaching?
Currently teaching full-time classes are Nahu, which is like intermediate level Nahu. Awamil Izhar, and I don't know if the listeners know about it, but that's fine. Awamil and Izhar. These are more intermediate level Nahu works, and after that I teach Mukhtasar al-Quduri.
Mm-hmm.
Then third class is a tafsir class, which in the first semester we teach i'rab al-Qur'an, which is just the different parsing of the Qur'an, different verses. And second semester we teach Safwat Tafasir, so basically tafsir work. Last class is one of my favorites, is Shaykh al-Hind class, which is in Dar al-Qasim we explain it as what every Muslim needs to know, the Fard Ain. Okay, so that fourth class is a culmination of all the Islamic studies, sciences, whether it's Qur'an, whether it's Hadith, whether it's Fiqh, whether it's Aqidah.
Mm-hmm.
So all four of those throughout the duration of 2 semesters.
MashaAllah.
That's for our students who want to learn. Some of them don't have the time to take off 6, 7, 8 years, and they want to just learn the Fard Ain. So that's a beautiful program for them. That we offer, full-time and part-time at Dar al-Qasim.
Nice, mashallah. Yeah. And so what does being a youth coordinator at Masjid Huda entail?
Being a youth coordinator at Masjid Huda, honestly, is the same concept, is bringing that content of wahi to the context of the youth in our time. And for one reason only. My goal is just one thing: it's just to procure their salvation in the next life. To procure their Islam. It's as simple as that. Some people think, "Oh, that's a low standard." Well, that's the only standard I have right now. Right? Sure. If we have time, we'll teach them some fiqh. If we have time, we'll teach them some aqidah. Yes, we're going to use those sciences.
Yeah.
Okay. But at the end of the day, if you don't have the youth's attention by giving them attention, you can give them the content. You can have a guest speaker come in and lecture them. They'll be like, okay, they'll be listening, on their phone or wherever they'll be listening. But until you give them time, a few times a week at least, then it's not. I wouldn't say that we're really caring for our future until we do that. Our future generation. Every organization will say we're building for our youth. We're building for our youth. Building for our youth. I was like, man, you're not building for your youth. What do? You have like maybe one basketball tournament for them throughout the whole year, and then that's it. That's sure. That brings brotherhood. That brings that mahabbah there. Sure.
Yeah.
But they see that you're not spending more than once a month with them. Maybe one little halaqah with them. Well, how much benefit is that going to truly do? Right? How much benefit? And then people, parents come to me complaining that, oh man, my kid's not praying, or he took a class in college, and he's thinking of switching religions and things like that. Well, that's because there's no foundation that was built. That's our goal there. It's to procure their salvation. So we meet 2 days a week. If we can do more, that would be great. But right now we meet 2 days a week, usually Mondays and Fridays, and we sit and we just chat for a little bit. We have a little bit of open discussion first, 10-15 minutes of class, however much they want to talk about. Open discussion, completely open. Whether they want to share about school, whether they want to share about questions about Islam, and then after that I talk to them, give a little topic that relates to them, and we wrap up with the dua. So that's how we do it every twice a week. That's the plan. Now, are you going to finish like a whole ʿālim course? No, it's not no part-time ʿālim course. No, I'm not saying that's not how it's trying to advertise. I'm not trying to say that. I'm just trying to procure their salvation. That's it. As simple as that. And parents love that, right? Parents, if you tell them that's the course objective, they'll be like, all right, that's enough for me, right?
Yeah,
that's enough for me, because it's difficult for me to do that while I'm at work and I'm at school, or I'm parents have busy lives as well, so it's already difficult enough being a parent. So it gives them that Muslim brotherhood and sisterhood. We have a sisters program as well. So alhamdulillah, it gives them that opportunity to interact with other Muslims as well.
Nice, mashallah. What advices would you have for students that are looking to study part-time, full-time, in whatever capacity? What advices would you have for them?
I would say the same thing, like how I said for that one student who not sure about Tarawi. Do it. Just do as much. Just do something. Just do something. If you can do full-time, great. Full-time not for everybody. It's not for everybody. So it's not like you do full-time or you do nothing.
Yeah.
All right. That's why alhamdulillah we have many madaris here in the Chicagoland area. I can only speak of the one that I work at. So I can only tell you about the ʿāṣim. We offer full-time courses, and then we also offer part-time courses for the working adults, for the college students, whether it's on the weeknights or whether it's on Saturdays. We offer that, alhamdulillah, and students take advantage of that. And we even have students who are taking the full-time ʿālim course kind of part-time. What do I mean by that? They're like taking 1 year over 2 years. So they're taking, as opposed to taking like 6 classes, they're taking 3 classes this year. And then, so alhamdulillah, that's another thing that I didn't know. I don't know if it's offered anywhere else. I can't speak for anybody else, but I haven't seen it exist any other madaris. So I thought that was, just giving an opportunity for students to learn, right? Why create like age restrictions and things like that? Why do that? If you go overseas, I remember, my family was telling me, she said, she couldn't go to this one school or go to this one program because they had an age restriction. You had to be this old to study. Like, man, they can do that, I guess, because they have so many students coming in. But I don't really agree with that mentality. I was like, why are you going to stop somebody from studying the deen? Let them study however much they can study. If you have a different program for them, that's great, inshallah. So alhamdulillah, that's one of the things that I noticed at the ʿāṣim, that it's a balance of full-time students and part-time students, working professionals and full-time college students who are just in the grind the entire day. But then you have individuals who are doctors, engineers, PhDs who have their own status and their own degree in their own community, and they're coming to learn. It's amazing to see that. It's amazing to that people that have that stature and that rank to come and still sit and study the deen from people that could be like half their age, right? So that environment is beautiful. That's the beauty of Islam. That's what Islam does, right? I was telling you about hifz as well. You see that in hifz. I see that in Al course as well, right? You see that in the Islamic institutions as well.
MashaAllah. Yeah. And now currently you're pursuing your master's to become a health coach, correct?
I wouldn't say it's like a master's, more like a certification program.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't want to mislead anybody. Like I'm no Dr. Saab anyway. I don't want to mislead anybody. Yeah, so that's what I'm doing right now. Becoming a health coach at it's at an institution. It's all online. I needed to. I wasn't trying to leave the ʿāṣim. Right? I don't want to ever leave the ʔāṣim. I wasn't trying to leave that. I love my job too much there.
MashaAllah.
But I wanted to also pursue something in regards to health and nutrition and holistic health. So this was, I would say, this is the biggest, most well-known, and has the most qualified instructors at their institution. It's called IIN. It's the Institute for Integrative Nutrition. So they teach us, many different dietary theories. That's not that you're going to go, obviously when we were learning about them, you try a different diet every week. But at the end of the day, they talk about bio-individuality, which you basically try to choose a diet that fits your, health needs. So it's a combination of what is it basically. I can just talk about it in like two phrases. They teach us primary foods and secondary foods. Primary foods are those things that affect your health, but you don't put in your mouth. An example of that, there are 12, but 4 main ones are your career, your spirituality, your relationship, and physical activity. These are all the things that affect your health without putting anything in your mouth. Secondary foods are when people think about nutrition, they think about what you put into your mouth. So that's all of your, your fruits, your vegetables, your water, all that dairy, all that stuff. But that's everything that you put into your mouth. So we look at it as in a holistic manner, where you take care of your primary foods, your secondary foods will be taken care of as well. Okay, so you take care of your, your relationships, and that's not just with your spouse, whether it's with your brother, whether it's with a musalli, whether it's with a teacher, whether it's with your boss, anybody. Relationships. That's number one. Number two is your career. You're spending more hours probably at your work than you do at home. Okay, awake. So if you don't have a job that you like, life sucks, right? It's not something that I know so many people that they're making a lot of money, mashallah. That doesn't mean that they love their job, right? Doesn't mean that they love their job. So career is very important. Very important to love what you actually do and do what you actually love. And number 3 was spirituality. Obviously, without our deen, we're nothing. We all know that, right? Without our deen, this is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He raises people with the deen, and He also brings down people with the deen. So that's the aspect of spirituality that we get. Number 4 is physical activity. And you all know us. We love playing sports, right? We love being active. I want to be like 90 years old playing in basketball tournaments, right? That's I don't want to. These things. It's the people like, oh man, how are you still playing at that time? I was like, how are you not playing? Right? How are you not playing when you're this isn't something that I'm giving up on. Yeah, however much you want, it's your health, right? What's more important than your health? Like Prophet ﷺ, he said that after forgiveness, make dua for health. After forgiveness, make dua for health. He said in another hadith that al-mu'min al-qawi khayrun wa ahabbu ila Allah min al-mu'min al-da'if. Right? The stronger believer is better than the weak believer. Honestly, when it was just common sense for me. It made sense that I want to take care of my own health. Then I want to, inshallah, be a means of hopefully helping other Muslims be able to integrate that Islamic lifestyle and nutrition to be able to create systematic, healthy habits within their life. Because health isn't just eating good foods. I know so many people that eat organic foods, but their life is miserable. Why? Because there's other aspects that affect an individual's health. You have aspects of relationships. They might be in a horrible relationship that's affecting their health. Okay, or they don't like a job. Okay, or they have no physical activity. Okay, or they have no aspect of spirituality. So, alhamdulillah, I'm able to. I'm going to hopefully. My goal is, inshallah, is hopefully inspire Muslims to create systematic, healthy habits by integrating an Islamic lifestyle and nutrition. That's my goal, inshallah, and hopefully, in the near future, we'll be taking clients for that.
MashaAllah, MashaAllah. Amazing. That's just a cool concept. It's something that you don't really see.
For sure,
You know what I'm saying? So, mashallah. So, how long do you have until you're finished with your certification?
A few weeks, inshallah. So,
a few weeks, mashallah.
Yeah.
So, by the time this goes up, you're already certified a health coach.
Yeah, inshallah.
Well, what's your company, man? Where can we sign up?
So, it'll be up and running. I'm not sure when this is going to be, posted.
Yeah.
But I'm just setting up the website right now. But it's going to be titled integrativeshifa.com.
MashaAllah.
So, the Muslims can reach out on there to make appointments and things of that sort.
Okay,
see all the details there, inshallah.
Okay, so all the details will be listed below then.
Yeah,
mashallah. Mashallah. That's amazing. Do you have any future plans? I know you're working on your recitation, with different riwayat. Is there any other future plans, future goals that you have on the horizon?
Getting this health coaching, business up and running.
Inshallah.
That's the plan for right now, and then working on riwayah by riwayah, inshallah, getting ijāzah there. So currently I'm working on Ibn Kathir.
Mashallah.
So doing that, and at the ʿāṣim, inshallah, the plan is to hopefully in the near future come out with textbooks for the Sirah department for Islamic schools.
MashaAllah.
So that's kind of what I'm working on at the ʿāṣim in my free time.
Amazing, man. Jazakallah khairan for joining us.
No, astaghfirullah.
If anyone needs, any diet plans, he needs some meal prep ideas, hit up my guy. Inshallah. May Allah Ta'ala reward you, reward your family, grant your father maghfirah, open a window of Jannah in his grave. Inshallah. May Allah make it easy for you, your family. You guys are a living legacy of your father, mashallah. I messaged you guys all the same thing, and I said that your father raised men. And mashallah, we're seeing these men today being able to benefit our communities. Jazakumullah khairan again, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.